Well, welcome in to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital. My name is Landon, and man, so glad to be back with you guys. If you follow us on Twitter, which is always a good idea, just at MyDawgsPod, you'll know, man, we've had some internet struggles since the storms came through last week. So ever since then, we have had some issues, but I think we're back to 100%. I don't necessarily live in rural Alabama, although Alabama in and of itself is fairly rural, but I thought we'd have good enough connection to be able to get through an episode, but we were just sound like a robot every time we try to record. So, which is a shame. We even had a full, it's like 35-minute episode out last week and just could not get the audio just right. But that's okay because we are back for this edition of My Dogs Are Barking, and the topic is the portal taketh away. You always hear that saying, "The portal giveth, portal taketh away." Well, this edition, My Dogs Are Barking, is particularly focusing on the players for Mississippi State's basketball team that have elected to go elsewhere or have the decision elected for them. We'll cover that, and then hopefully here in the next week and a half or so, we'll be able to have an edition of the Portal Giveth. And so we're going to talk about some of the players that are departing Mississippi State's team. Talk about the Final Four now that it is set in stone. We thought we might have some upset people in the Final Four, that it was possible, but not at all. Just all number one seeds have made it to the Final Four. So, man, about as chalk as you can get at this point. So very, very excited to discuss that. It's been an interesting tournament. Maybe it has not had the quality as a couple of some of the past years, but I digress. So we do want to let you know that this episode is brought to you in part by my dog that just walked into the frame. He's a very good boy. And very good boy. Just kind of wants to see what's going on. That's all he's doing there. But also, our show is brought to you in part by Arpa's Coffee Bar in Starkville. Make sure we can see that there. The light is not there. We go. Arpa's Coffee Bar in Starkville. It's in the heart of the Cotton District. You got to check out Arpa's. Jose and his family, his team there will set you up just right. And as a reminder, Starkville eats Arpa's. Arpa's, man, has just got it going on. It is a Venezuelan coffee place, restaurant, all the above. A good place to get drinks, get food. But it's wonderful. Like I said, mentioned in the Cotton District. If you've never been to Arpa's, it's worth checking out. But here's the deal. If you've never been, you get 15% off just for being a listener of this show. If you're a big fan of Arpa's, if you've already been going for a long time, you already know it's a great spot. So get 15% off every single time. Tell them that Dak sent you. Let him know he sent you there. Get 15% off. Just let them know. Say, hey, I would love the My Dogs Are Barking discount, and they'll give that to you. 15% off every single time. So go check it out. It is very well worth it. As we're looking over some of these players for Mississippi State, I don't think any of them are going for a big payday. I don't think any of them that have officially declared they're leaving are going to get rich necessarily, but maybe they will. Maybe Michael Nwoko and company will go somewhere, get paid, and get really rich. But maybe they'll be kind of spent pondering this question that myself and my dog are thinking about, and that is, man, what does it mean to be rich? Maybe it's less about reaching a magic number and more about discovering the magic in life. Skip Langley is your Batesville, Mississippi, Edward Jones financial advisor, serving clients in the area and across the state. Count on him for financial strategies that can help you support a life you love, because the key to being rich is knowing what counts. So contact him today at 662-563-9843, and together you can find your rich. Edward Jones, member SIPC. So Mississippi State obviously was knocked out of the tournament. The SEC still remains strong. It's 7 teams, I believe it was, made it to the Sweet 16. Very well represented in the Final Four. The SEC makes up for half of the teams. Florida and Auburn will be playing each other on the 5th of April, and Duke and Houston will be playing each other on the 5th of April as well, to determine who goes to the national championship. So the SEC got 2 Final Four teams in. In Tennessee, had they been able to pull it off, it would make it 3. But that they were not able to overcome. And so, the SEC, for all the talk of the SEC is overrated and the SEC is not as good as they're making it out to be. And I just think that kind of talk ought to have been shut down if you look at the numbers in terms of who all actually made it to the tournament. And then on top of that, it's not like they were one and done. Arkansas, they played above probably what they should have. They beat a St. John's team They go up against Texas Tech, and Texas Tech, man, was really good. Oh my goodness, Texas Tech was good. But just couldn't get finish Florida off in a really incredible game. And so, as you kind of look at it, the SEC did what I think many if people who actually watched the SEC who were watching those weekday games thought they would do. And that is play really, really well, a very, very deep league. And it just, I don't know, it's just kind of good. It was almost vindicating just to say, okay, well, the SEC really was who we thought they were. They were the best conference by a long shot. And from top to bottom, just unbelievably deep. And now, it's a shame we're not going to get an SEC, national championship. But I think Florida or Auburn have a great shot to win it. But these are certainly the four best teams in that are left there in the Final Four. But you think about Mississippi State, and they dropped the game, the first round game to Baylor, 75-72. Not ideal for Mississippi State fans, but it State fans, as we talked about after the fact, were disappointed to lose that game because they had opportunities to win it. But you had to wonder, okay, well, what of this team is going to come back next year? Because Cam Matthews is graduating, and he's a huge part of what they do. Kanye Clary, we already know, is going to be gone. At least at that moment afterwards, it wasn't publicly made available. But I think many people knew that he was not going to be on the team for this upcoming year. Then on top of that, you just think about kind of the nucleus of the team, like who's going to be where. RJ Melendez is going to be gone. Anyway, so you just kind of looked around and thought, who's going to come back? One of the names I did not expect to hear was Michael Nwoko, the center for Mississippi State, to get the transfer from Miami. Playing his sophomore season, goes to Mississippi State, and now he's transferring out again to go to his third school. That part is not that surprising in terms of like a player transferring that many times. That's a part of college basketball now and college football. But I think the more surprising part of it is it seemed like, he was a guy that probably had an opportunity to play a lot of minutes next year. I think a lot of State fans were really excited about him coming back and him improving because he had a few games where he kind of came out offensively and scored really early. And I mean, he wasn't getting but 15, 16 minutes a game because it didn't seem like his conditioning was there. But you at least thought, okay, going into next season, he ought to be able to take a big step forward. And it didn't seem to, whenever he announced it, it was just a little surprising. But obviously you wish Michael Nwoko well. I thought him having another off season to get in some better conditioning and hopefully become better on the defensive end was just something I think a lot of State fans were looking forward to. But that's okay. He'll go get paid elsewhere. But it really just kind of reaffirms State needs a rim protector, and you want a guy who can score. I think it'd be great to have a guy who's a stretch five. And they can also find a protector for the rim. Like if we're not going to have Keyshawn Murphy, shooting threes, that's fine. Even though he has some of that capability, you need to have another threat from out there to help everybody else out on the 3-point shooting. And I don't know. It's a little surprising to see Michael Nwoko go, but as I mentioned, do wish him well. The next guy is Adrian Myers announced that he on Sunday, I believe it was, that he is entering the transfer portal. The freshman wing, I guess he'd be technically a sophomore, but he's from Virginia, but 6'6", 210. Just didn't get a lot of playing time this season. He played in 10 games. He averaged a point in those games. He played the most minutes he played was the 2 minutes he played against Alabama, and he shot a three and hit it. So that was kind of the crux of the season for Adrian Simon. He must have just seen kind of the writing on the wall that was what his career was going to be at Mississippi State, and decided to move on. But he didn't get a ton of playing time anyway. I think one of the things a lot of Mississippi State fans are kind of waiting on is what is Riley Kugel going to do? Is he going to move on? Because when you combine the seniors and combine some of these guys leaving, State's probably going to end up taking five guys in the portal because Clydell Harris Jr. is gone as well. Then on top of that, of Adrian Myers, you also lose Martavis Russell, the Sipsey Valley legend from Buell, Alabama. Just want to mention that. It's just close to where I am. That's the only reason I bring him up. But he played well in his time getting minutes against LSU. But a lot of these guys are just reserve guys. Or a few of these guys are just reserve guys, and MJ Russell's one of them. He's a really talented offensive player. It might do him well to go to a D2 and play really well there, get a lot of playing time. I don't doubt if he gets a lot of playing time, he can average a good amount of points. It just probably wasn't going to work at this level. But do wish Martavis Russell well. The other guy who had already announced was Kanye Clary, so that makes 4 gone. And again, we touched on that the last episode, but the day that Kanye Clary did not play, the first game when Chris Jans was asked about it was against Pitt. And in that post-game interview, I mentioned it on the show after that game. So maybe the day after, I just did. It was not an answer that seemed, whenever Chris Jans was asked about Kanye Clary, and he mentioned it was a lower body kind of deal, it just didn't seem like it was something that was really injury related. I don't know. I don't know the official, what's true and what's not. It seemed that way from the answer that he gave and kind of the body language after that, and each time he was asked that afterwards. So I think it was clear that Kanye was not going to be a part of this team going forward into next year. But really, like a really talented guy, and really talented on the offensive side of the ball. And so Mississippi State's going to have to replace him because they missed having another shooter from the wing. And this is now 3 years in a row where there's been a Mississippi State basketball player enter in the season being at Mississippi State and then either not finishing the year or it not kind of working out. Suffice to say, last season was Andrew Taylor from Marshall. And the year before that, I'm blanking on the guy, but he was from, I believe, Albany and was like the defensive player of the year in the SoCon. No, that's not the correct conference. But he was kind of just stopped playing from Mississippi State kind of early into the season. I wish for the life of me I could get that name in my head, but I cannot think of it. But it's from Jans' first year. So anyway, it's kind of 3 for 3 on players so far at Mississippi State, kind of transferring out after that time. So you wish more guys could. You wish it would work out for some of those guys, but it's obviously kind of tough. Okay, so there was Will McNair transferred into State. Deshaun Davis, Jamel, yeah, there it is. Okay, Jamel Horton. That's who he was. The junior point guard enrolled at Mississippi State. I don't even know if did he ever play? I don't know if he ever played at Mississippi State. I thought he started off the season at Mississippi State. Yeah, he did. He started off the season at Mississippi State and then just did not finish for whatever reason. But anyway, I suffice to say that's 3 seasons in a row that the state has had a player like that. And it's not just in Mississippi State. There's other places where that happens. Of kind of getting a guy in the portal and it not working out. But what we've talked about and what we discussed on the show is that Chris Jans needs just as much depth as you can get in the portal, but they showed this season they really need a rim protector. Because some of the reasons that Mississippi State does that much help defense in the paint, you say a scenario where Josh Hubbard is covering a guy. Well, that guy goes into the paint. Josh is a smaller defender. So Cam Matthews comes and helps out. And that's what State was able to get a lot of turnovers. The problem is, if they don't get the turnover, there's someone left open and they kick it to the open man. The guy shoots a 3 and it's, not as talented on the offensive side of the ball. And so they get behind in games. Well, if you have a rim protector, you don't always have to bring a wing to go be the secondary defender. Now you have a guy sitting around in the paint that can help you block shots. But this season, State did not have that. Michael Nwoko was not a factor inside. Keyshawn Murphy was not a factor inside. When it came to blocking shots, that was just not something that a lot of teams had to worry about compared to maybe other teams in the league. Jonas Adu, I mean, if you're going down the lane, he's going to be there to try to protect the rim. Johnny Broom's going to be there to protect the rim against, for Auburn. Grant Nelson, or Clifford, I can't remember his last name for Alabama, the Rutgers transfer. In other words, these teams that do really well have those really big rebounders and rim protectors, and State just has not has not had that. We saw in the very beginning of the season, State was being out rebounded early, and it seemed like honestly they played probably above their potential when it comes to rebounding this season. But that's something they're going to have to correct in the portal. And there's a ton of names that are circulating. There's interest here. They've heard from Mississippi State here. We're not going to cover all those today, just because you don't really know what's really true and what's not, and if there's really interest on a player or not. Right now, just be purely speculation. If Cooper Flagg somehow came back to school and entered the portal, would he receive interest from Mississippi State? Yeah, probably. But like, what would the point be? So we'll cover that and possibly in the next episode if there's some more legitimate information from the great writers. And there's several great writers for Mississippi State, and I think Paul Jones and Robbie Falk do a really good job of giving information out to readers. So that's a good place to go. And we'll just kind of discuss who State has coming in on visits. We'll discuss that as they get a little bit more legitimate as the season kind of rolls along. So we'll take a quick break. Here's some messages from MPW Digital. And when we come back, we will do our finale of the show and talk about Mississippi State baseball. And I'm so sorry.
All MPW Digital podcasts are brought to you by our friends at Parish Brewing Company, located in the heart of Cajun country in Broussard, Louisiana. Parish Brewing Company's simple goal is to make awesome craft brewed beer, and they do it remarkably well. The doctor is introducing their new go-to IPA, Dr. Juice. It's a highly crushable juice bomb, dry hopped with a blend of their favorite hand-selected hops from the Yakima Valley in Washington. Dr. Juice's drinkability is sneaky good, considering it clocks in at 6% ABV. The pour glows a rich cantaloupe hue with a thick frosted haze, soft mouthfeel, an aroma and taste that's full of passion fruit, papaya, and blood orange, making it drink like a glass of freshly squeezed juice. They also have Ghost in the Machine. It's a double IPA brewed with obscene quantities of hand-selected Citra hops from Yakima Valley. Expect pungent grapefruit flavors and aromas, tropical fruit, less harsh bitterness than most IPAs. Again, it's Parish Brewing Company. Wherever you get your beer, check out Parish. Make sure that you look for them, because any beer that you get from Parish is going to be absolutely outstanding. Thank you from MPW Digital. We're brought to you by Easy Hemp Company. Easy is a hemp-infused sparkling water. It's a guilt-free alcohol alternative, a natural way to relax and unwind. It's all natural. Made with real fruit, no added sugar, low calories, gluten-free. One 12-ounce can of Easy has 3 milligrams of THC. With Easy, it's easy to avoid the gummy scare and control your experience. So change the can, not the ritual. It's easy. Visit EasyHempCo.com to view the Easy Finder to find Easy near you. Easy is Farm Bill compliant with hemp derived from THC, CBD extracts. Easy is for people 21 and older. Enjoy responsibly.
Mississippi State baseball has fallen off of a cliff. And I at the Egg Bowl, I was joking with an Ole Miss fan that we're talking about, Mississippi State and Ole Miss winning national titles, but man, what they have given up in order to win those national titles has just been rough to see. And Mississippi State dropped their third SEC series in a row, 0-3 to start the season in SEC series. Overall, Mississippi State is 16-12, 1-8 in the conference. It's just rough. That's really, really rough for it being March. But lose to LSU in Baton Rouge. LSU is a very good team, but they get swept. They lose 6-8 on Thursday. Lose a 1-2 defensive battle. Could not get the bats going at all on Friday night. 1-2 to LSU. And then finally Saturday, they lose 17-8 to LSU. And I don't want to say the obvious that I know everyone else wants to say and everyone else can say. I'll just say this. This performance, this is not something that Mississippi State puts up with. It's not for the quality of fans and for the quality of facilities that Mississippi State has, it's just not a product that you get in return. If Alabama, I understand Alabama football and Mississippi State baseball is different, but in terms of how it is appreciated by the fans, Mississippi State's fan base is so serious about baseball because that's what's been the most successful over the course of their history. That when you get to be at this poor of a performance, it's really, really rough, especially for the amount of fans that still show up to the best baseball stadium in America. It's sad, man. And look, like this, the next series Mississippi State has is against a struggling South Carolina team, and South Carolina's 17-12 thus far in the season, so they're struggling as well at this point in the year. But that's an opportunity for Mississippi State to get back in a place where they would at least have some confidence kind of going forward. So State plays at Memphis on Tuesday, so hopefully they'll stop by the Rendezvous, grab some stuff to get started against Memphis. Then they're going to be in Starkville for April 4th, 5th, and 6th versus South Carolina, a very winnable series. Then you get UAB in Birmingham. Then you get Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Which is interesting because Alabama is playing really well. They slipped up against they ended up beating Oklahoma, who's a really, really good team on Sunday, 8-6 to pull off the win. I think they rebounded because they lost the night before. But Alabama's a really good team. That used to be a series where you could go into Tuscaloosa and feel pretty good you're going to win or even get a sweep. But now, Alabama's 25-4. They're rolling. Alabama beat or swept Texas A&M in College Station. They won the first game against Tennessee before dropping the series overall. Then they win the series versus Oklahoma. They got a series against Auburn coming up. But like Alabama's no joke, man. That's no longer a series where you feel confident that you're going to get the sweep in. And so I don't know. It just puts you in a very bad spot. Going into where they are, and many people are very frustrated. Many people are saying you have to change Lamonis, and I get it. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think the obvious thing is just fire the coach, because that's kind of the general answer when we don't get answers to what we feel like. Just fire the coach. Next thing. And I think sometimes we oversimplify whenever fans are calling out. Because look, if that was the case, there are several coaches that are succeeding right now in places that would have been let go. Kirby Smart would have been let go in his first year at Georgia. Nick Saban would have been let go in his first year at Alabama. Losing Louisiana Monroe. But this is a different situation in Mississippi State. At this point, you have a head coach that's now been in the same position for 6 seasons, I believe, and had an unbelievably full cupboard of talent when he first got to Mississippi State, and now it's kind of had to do things on his own. It's just we've seen the talent just slip. The evaluation talent has not been there, and the SEC is just too brutal for Mississippi State to think that they can compete while having this level of talent on the schedule. So I'm interested to see where things go from here. Again, Mississippi State's got a great opportunity this weekend just to get back on track versus South Carolina. But you have to wonder if State loses the series versus South Carolina or even gets embarrassed in a loss versus South Carolina, is that when you make a change like that early into a season? I don't know. There's a lot. The thing is, there's a ton of season left to go. There's a long season for baseball. A lot of baseball left to be played. But I don't know. Just offensively, you're not getting the juice that you need in this conference, and especially if you have a good pitching performance. But the bats just are not waking up. It's very disappointing. So we wanted to give you the update. So glad to be able to come back up on the show. Hey, if you're part of our My Dogs Are Barking tournament bracket, we have got the last little bit here, man, and then we will finalize and see who the winner is and see who wins an ARPA's gift card, and that'll be really exciting for the winner, man. So thank you guys as always for participating with that, man. Engage with us over on Twitter and let us know, is there a particular transfer portal guy that you are looking to, a guy that you're really excited for Mississippi State to go after, someone you really, really want. And it's very possible. You think about the transfer portal guys from this season, honestly, none of them really hit. I would have told you Riley Kugel was the best person they picked up. But even knowing some of the inconsistencies that he had, but like Claudell Harris had some good moments, but overall wasn't like a slam dunk person. RJ Melendez again had some moments, hit some big shots, and so did Claudell. Give them credit there, but none of them were like, man, run away. This is phenomenal. This is fantastic. And it made a massive difference on the team. And so we'll see where things go as we go on. But hey, follow us on Twitter. It's just at MyDawgsPod. And we thank you as always for listening to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital. We'll holler at you next time.